What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I'm LotusAsakura, the one who never knows best, and today I'm bringing another Dragon Ball FighterZ video, but today's video is not going to be gameplay. I don't know how I'm titling or thumbnailing this just yet, so maybe you already know what this is based on that, but if you don't, allow me to explain. Today, we're going to be making two different tier lists for Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, these tier lists aren't going to be me ranking their assists or the strength of the characters necessarily in terms of who I think is the best and the worst. The first tier list is going to be basically me deciding which characters I would like to see get some changes in the patch, and whether or not I want them to be buffed, nerfed, or basically stay the same as they are because I think they're in a good spot. And then the second tier list will be my expectations for the patch in terms of who I think is going to get buffed, nerfed, or stay the same. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is something I wanted to bring to you guys just of my own accord dolo, because as you may or may not know, this weekend, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Western, I'm going to be doing a really big stream over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/LotusAsakura. Links always in the description down below. Where I'm going to have a ton of guests. It should be me and 11 other people. And it's a bunch of names that you guys should be familiar with: the Kill Sage, Pred, Nitro, Yasha, Kasuga, Wade, Obi Assassin, Jake Ryan, Cloud. A lot of your favorite Dragon Ball fighters, creators, streamers, players are going to be joining me for a huge discussion on basically our hopes and expectations for the patch, things we want to see, where characters need to go in terms of getting buffed or nerfed, etc., etc. But I figured that I should get some of my own thoughts solo out before we jump into that, so that's why you're getting this video today. I don't want to overcomplicate things by having too many tiers and having like, oh, this character needs slight buffs, this character needs slight nerfs. So I'm gonna just have three categories: buff, mostly the same, which can mean they stay exactly the same or get very minimal changes, and then nerfs. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename these categories and then we're gonna jump into it. Okay, and I guess we can just basically go in order the way the characters are listed here. So Vegeta needs buffs. I think Vegeta is one of the weaker characters in the game, and I think most people would agree that he needs some help. Goku is a character who I think is kind of underrated right now and could pretty much mostly stay the same. Teen Gohan is another character who I think is pretty strong, probably stronger than Goku, but is also mostly in a good spot where he could pretty much stay the same. I know I saw Fred make a tweet where he said that he needs like maybe some slight quality of life changes, but again, if the changes that these characters are going to experience are going to be very minimal or slight, we're just leaving them here in this category. Next, we have Piccolo, another character who I think Piccolo is really good. Piccolo's biggest problem in this game is that it just feels like whatever characters are top tier, just always characters that have tools to deal with him specifically. So I mean, maybe you could say that he's a character that needs buffs, but he's maybe someone who just needs to rework it in a way where he has a tool that helps him beat people with just like full screen projectile invulnerable lariats and stuff like that. Like Piccolo's whole game plan with like the orb and everything, it kind of just gets demolished. And it's really unfortunate, but I think Piccolo is a really strong character. I don't think he needs too many changes to be stronger. It's more so just like, oh, maybe he needs a new tool or something. Krillin, another character who I think is really, really good right now, but I don't think he's too good. He can stay the same. Yamcha, buffs. They buffed this character before. I still think he needs some more. Tien is a character who like will probably get some slight buffs here or there, but I think he should stay the same. Trunks, the top of the buffs list. Please. I think Trunks and Vegeta are probably the two characters that's almost unanimously agreed that these are two of the worst characters in the game and they need some help. And I'm actually happy to see that some other people in the community agree that Trunks needs some help. Gohan's in a weird spot because I feel like depending on who gets nerfed, he might need some slight adjustments too. But again, those adjustments could be slight, so we'll see how it goes. But I definitely don't think he needs to be buffed. I think he's really strong right now, arguably a top 5 character. So we're gonna leave him in mostly the same, but he might need to be toned down depending on what happens. Gotenks needs some bug fixes. Gotenks is strong, he needs bug fixes. So we're gonna keep him mostly the same. Frieza can still use buffs. I mean, he's in a game where he wants to be a zoner, where a lot of his tools just get beat by him by you super dashing. Granted, they've fixed that a bit. Obviously they've made some of his normals better. His assists still suck, those need help. They made it so his ki blast beats super dash, and obviously he has discs and the orb. But I mean, he still isn't that great. They've buffed Golden Frieza and improved the quality of life of that move with that super, but I think Frieza could still use a little bit of help. Nappa, mostly the same. I think Nappa's another character who's in a pretty good spot. He's a character much like Gotenks who's good, and if you specialize in him, you're gonna rock a lot of people with your setups and everything, and he's got crazy mix, and he's got some stuff, but he's got a couple of bugs that need to be fixed. Ginyu's also fine as he is, I would say. He's a character that doesn't have like super crazy mix, I guess, but he's a character that plays the neutral really well. He plays a really mean game of keep away. He snowballs you extremely well, much like Nappa also does. People used to say Nappa had bad neutral. Arguable. Obviously not. He doesn't have a full screen projectile invulnerable lariat that gives you a medium scaling on hit or beats ki blast. Whatever. It's fine. I think Ginyu is okay, if anything, maybe slight buffs. Android 18 is a character that I feel like should pretty much stay the same as she is. She probably, I mean, you might see her level 3 Oki get nerfed in the next patch, but other than that, she's probably going to stay the exact same. I think she's really good. I think she's arguably top 5. There's a lot of characters I think are arguably top 5. Again, this isn't supposed to be a tier list, but if you want to hear me, because we pretty much all agree that the 4 best characters in the game are Lab Coat, Vegito, and both Gogetas, right? So if you want to hear which characters I think are arguably in that 5th spot, it's Adult Gohan, it's Android 18, it's Blue Goku, it's Beerus, it's Hit, it's Zamasu, it's Janemba, it's Android 17, and I think that's everyone. And did I miss anyone? That should be all the ones that I think are in that conversation right now. But I think all of those characters are really, really, really good. And I think the game's in a really good spot balance wise, if I'm being honest. I think most characters are going to be here in this mostly the same tier, right? As it should be. I just think that the top 4 stand out so far head and shoulders above everyone else, which I guess kind of spoils what who's going to go down here. But the top 4 are just so much ahead, and that's always going to be the case. No matter what you do on a patch, there's going to be characters who are better than others, and there's going to be characters who are weaker than others, and the best of the best are going to get picked and used the most, both online and competitively, right? But I think for the most part, there's a lot of characters who are really, really good right now. They're just kind of overshadowed by those top 4. But like I said, you have like 10 characters by itself who are in conversation for number 5. And arguably, Gohan is number 1, because once you get to level 7, he's just playing a completely different game from everyone else. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, which is also part of the reason, because like I don't hear many other people saying it, but I do think Adult Gohan's in that conversation for actual best character in the game, which is why if you bring like the other 4 down, he might need to come down just a tiny little bit too. But I digress. 16 can still use a little bit of buffs in my opinion, maybe a bit more than slight buffs. There's one thing I just don't understand, especially with his meter gain thing, why that never got fixed. I think 16 is good. He could be better. Cell is perfectly fine as is. That Boo, I think, is very much in the same tier as Nappa, where specialist character can be very strong in the right hands. Might need to build around him a little bit, but I think he's fine. Kid Boo, I'm gonna say I think he should mostly stay the same. Again, this is my personal opinion, right? Beerus, mostly the same. I think, like I said, Beerus is arguably one of the best characters in the game. Might need some slight nerfs, depending on how things go, but for now we're gonna leave him mostly the same. Hit, mostly the same. I know there's a lot of conversation about his assist. We'll get to that in the next tier list, the second one. Goku Black. I still think Goku Black needs more help. Blue Goku stay the same. Blue Vegeta stay the same. 21 can stay the same. I think she's still very strong. She's still mostly the same character after the last patch. They just nerfed her level 3 Oki. Other things as well that matter to her character, but yeah. Bardock needs buffs. Broly, mostly the same. Might get some slight buffs. Vegito, I think we can all agree, needs to be toned down. Even more so than he already has. Zamasu, another one of those characters who I feel like is really strong. Some people are even trying to tell me he's the best character in the game, and I feel you. I think right now he's fine as is, but depending, and you're gonna hear me say this a few times, but depending on what happens, he might need to come down a little bit. But I think for the most part, he's fine. Another specialist character. He's not super popular, but he is very strong. TODs you off of literally any hit if you got the combos, if you got the sauce, if you got the resources. He's very strong. But he's not one of those characters that just anyone picks up and does well with. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a bit of a skill barrier there, you know what I'm saying? A bit of a mountain to climb, a little bit of an execution barrier. He's not supremely difficult from what I understand. I've played him a tiny little bit. I've never gotten particularly great with him, but yeah. Base Goku, a character who might see some slight buffs, but for the most part, I think he's pretty good. Base Vegeta, again, I don't think he needs buffs or nerfs either way. I would love to see the return of Rocket Kick in some form or fashion, the EX Rocket Kick, but I don't think they're gonna revert that change. Cooler is a character who's definitely gonna get his J2H mix-up probably smoked in the next patch. And with that being said, he could probably use some slight buffs. He's a character who I think is very okay. He's just a very okay character right now. 17 mostly stays the same. Jiren mostly the same. Videl mostly the same. I actually think Videl is really good as well. She's pretty high up on that tier list. GT Goku is a character that a lot of people think is really trash now, and I disagree with that. I think GT Goku's actually still pretty good. Maybe mid-tier or slightly above mid-tier. If I were to put Z through C, maybe I'd put him A tier or something like that, right? But they smoked his assist. Buff his assist a little bit. If they buff his A assist, which by the way, I think his B assist is really, really good. You buff his A assist a tiny bit, I think a lot of people pick that character back up because he still has really good tools. Janemba, mostly the same. Like I said, arguably a top 5 character, definitely a top 10 character IMO. But I don't really think too much about him would need to be changed one way or the other. He's one of those characters that I don't think needs to be toned down at all, even if the ones above him get nerfed, but I guess it depends on how hard they hit those. Gogeta's, needs some nerfs. DBS Broly is fine as he is, in my opinion. I know a lot of people still want to see frame data buffs, and I feel you. I sympathize with that. You know what? I like DBS Broly. Go ahead. Now, but bear in mind, right? DBS Broly is a character much like Blue Gogeta, because I used to talk about this all the time on stream. And for those of you who follow me, which by the way, if you don't, you should. Links always in the description. I talked about it all the time with Blue Gogeta, where I was like, this character is better than people say he is in the first place. And second of all, same thing goes with Android 17. I used to say this all the time about Blue Gogeta and Android 17. Funny enough, they ended up working very well together, and we see that a lot, very commonly. Didn't know that was gonna happen, but if you was in those streams, you know I used to talk all the time that these characters, especially 17, are better than you think they are. They're just underexplored. They haven't been optimized yet. And if they do buff them and these characters ever get a lot better, they're gonna be really obnoxious and you're gonna hate fighting them. I used to say that all the time about these two characters specifically. And look where we are. Same thing kind of applies to Vegito, but I always hated Vegito, so I had some bias. Since day one, since he released, I hated this character. And he's a character who was like better than people thought. Then he got nerfed, then he got buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. And I was like, he's already good, he's already good, he's already good, he's already good. Okay, that's enough slices. And so yeah, tone him down. Kessler's fine as she is. I think she's underrated. UI Goku, I want him to stay the same. Roshi got some secret sauce to him. I feel like he's a character that's also still really underexplored right now. You might see some slight buffs with him, maybe a slight rebuff to the B assist, but I think he's fine as he is. Same thing goes with Baby, and then basically these are the only 4 characters in the game that I think need changes. You know what we could do actually real quick? Let's add a row below, right? And needs slight nerfs if top 4 get dumpster. So you heard me mention it a few times. Let's just make one more category for it. And by dumpster, I mean, obviously, like these characters get gutted. If these characters get like really destroyed pretty badly in the patch, I think, where is he? Beerus might need some help, some slight nerfs. Gohan might need some slight nerfs. Who else? 18 maybe, but I feel like outside of her level 3, okay, there's nothing really egregious about that character. Like, she's strong, but this is my bias, so I'm gonna let her stay exactly where she is. It's really mainly these two. I'll throw Zamasu in here and Janemba in here because I feel like those are like the top candidates, and maybe Blue Goku. Maybe I kind of feel like Goku's fine as he is, but it depends. It depends, right? I didn't want to make another category like this and overcomplicate it, but that's about as far as I'm gonna go. I feel like these 5 are probably like the next best characters in my opinion, maybe after the top 4. Like I said, 18 is there. Well, 18's still in that conversation as well. I just feel like she doesn't need changes. You know, I'm moving Blue Goku back up here. Anyway, so these are like what I would like to see with the game, I think. Now, this is all off the top of the head. I didn't really pre-plan this or like write anything down to think about it too deeply, because that's what we're going to be doing this weekend on the stream. But with that out of the way, we're going to get into the next list where I talk about what I expect to actually happen in the patch, which is a different conversation. All right, so here we are with everything reset, and this is the way I think things are going to go. Vegeta will get some slight buffs. Goku will mostly be the same. Gohan will mostly be the same. Piccolo will mostly be the same. Krillin will mostly be the same. Yamcha will get buffs. Tien will mostly be the same. Trunks will mostly be the same. I'm gonna spend even less time talking about these characters individually than I just did. Gohan might get some slight nerfs just because of what Wawa has been doing to everybody. Gotenks will get some bug fixes, I think. Frieza will get some buffs, but it won't be anything crazy. Nappa will mostly be the same. These are characters. 18's probably gonna get her level 3 nerfed, so that's a significant enough change where I'm gonna put her in this tier. So yeah, because I do think that does matter for her a lot. It's obviously not her only strength, but it is arguably her biggest one. So yeah, 16 will probably mostly be the same. Same thing goes for Cell, Fat Boo, Kid Boo, Beerus. Hit will get nerfed in terms of his assist, I think Hit's one of those characters where his assist is really good, and there's just been so much outcry about it. Actually, no, I don't know if they tapped in enough. I think his assist will probably stay the same. If I'm being honest, I think the assist will probably stay the same. Goku Black will get buffed again, but it probably won't be anything too crazy. Blue Goku will probably mostly stay the same. Blue Vegeta will mostly be the same. 21 Bardock I could see getting buffed actually. Z Broly the same, nerfed. Are they tapped in enough to Zamasu? Know that he might need some nerfs. Obviously, this is going to be very similar to the last one, which is why it's going to be so quick. I'm not sure with Zamasu though. Ace Goku will get buffed. IMO. Vegeta will stay the same. Cooler will get buffed. 17 probably won't change. I'm gonna say Zamasu probably won't change. Jiren, I feel like will probably get buffed. Don't ask me why. GT Goku. I'm gonna go on a limb and say GT Goku gets buffed because he's a DLC character. Same thing goes for Videl. Janemba. Janemba, I'm gonna say stays the same. Gogeta's absolutely getting nerfed. These Gogetas are getting nerfed. Labcoat's getting nerfed. She's probably gonna get destroyed. Actually, you know what? She needs her own tier. She needs her own tier. I think if any character gets destroyed, it's her, and probably only her. Like she might get off with a slap on the wrist. I think she got a lot of nerfs last time. She's obviously still very, very powerful. But I think she will get nerfed harder than any character, if at all. Roshi will get buffed. Broly will probably stay the same, if I'm being honest. Kefla the same. UI Goku might get some slight buffs. And then Baby Vegeta probably stays the same. And overall, we spent obviously way more time on the first list than this one. But yeah, I know we obviously have a lot of our own hopes and expectations for the patch. And I'm not basing this off of too much outside of my own opinions of the characters anyway. So these are both obviously subjective, as all tier lists are. I just feel like there are some characters who are like glaringly obviously need some help, need some adjustments. They need to be buffed, like Vegeta. Like, wait, where'd I put Trunks? Okay, Trunks will probably get buffed, but it probably won't be anything that really matters to me, if I'm being honest, because it very rarely is. But I'm gonna put him in buffs anyway. But there's some characters who obviously need some help, like Vegeta, like Yamcha, like Frieza, like Trunks. And it feels kind of funky putting GT Goku and Bardock and UI Goku in here, because in their respective seasons when they came out, they were considered the best characters in the game. Even though I don't know if Bardock was ever actually the best character in the game. I know we had a whole conversation about that with the Kill Stage and Lord Knight, comparing him to Lab Coat and stuff, but he was definitely really high up there. He's a top 5 all-time character IMO. Also, I think he in season 1 is way better than either of these characters ever were. FYI. People get so hung up on GT Goku, but I'm not gonna rant about that right now. But yeah, I just feel like maybe a little bit of DC privilege might come in here. I mean, not DC, DLC privilege will come in here, where it's like, okay, if we want to sell people these characters, they got to be kind of nice. So, and then you have a lot of other characters that are getting played a decent amount, but maybe not the most popular. Like Blue Goku, Blue Vegeta see a decent amount of play. Even at high level, you see Blue Goku. Even at high level, you're seeing Hit. I won't be surprised if he gets hit with some nerfs, because we've been seeing more of him at competitive play. So he could go either way, but I'd like to think he probably mostly stays the same. Like I said, these could be some slight adjustments one way or the other with these characters, but they're still relatively the same character. I don't see major changes coming to most of these, whereas I'd see more impactful, or maybe it's, again, my hopeful bias, more impactful changes coming to these characters. And then obviously Lab Coat getting the shortest end of the stick, probably getting beat the hardest with the Nerf gun. So getting shot the hardest with the Nerf gun, I guess I should say. But yeah, but most of these other characters, I feel like, even though there might be some stuff that they want to see a bit more of, like maybe with Kefla, like it's hard to turn off my own bias when it comes to the expectation. But this is where I stand on it right now. Like I said, not going too much into detail overall. I know I spent a lot of time on the first list, way more than the second one. But as I said before, there'll be a stream this weekend. And if you do miss the stream, it will be being uploaded to the channel as YouTube videos. It's probably going to have to be split up into multiple videos, because there's going to be one segment where basically we all talk about hopes and expectations in terms of what we want to see in terms of game mechanics, system changes, whatever, like overall things to the roster. So for example, like all EX lariats being toned down or negative on whiff, or or on block or something like that. No lariats having key blast and projectile invulnerability or anything like that. And then we'll actually be doing something like this as a community, where we make a tier list for characters that we think need buffs, slight buffs, stay the same, slight nerfs. And I'm sure that conversation is going to go on for a couple hours probably, and I don't know if I just want to do it fully unedited or not. I was going to say I'll let you guys in the comments. Well, I guess I'll still ask it, because some of you do make it this far. A lot of people don't make it to the end of the video, but if you made it this far, let me know. When I do that stream, should I just upload the full thing unedited to the channel, or should I split it up into parts? I'm also going to ask stream themselves when I do it, and I'll probably pose the question again in the video afterwards, and ask you guys' opinion like earlier in the video. But yeah, man, this is kind of where I'm standing with everything. This is kind of like what I expect to see, and then yeah, we'll see what actually happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay tuned for all this content when I bring you. And with all that being said, that's pretty much today. Remember, if it can happen to you, swing the bat. Later.